Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started here. Let's see here. Okay, I just want to welcome everybody to the Public Art Education Input session. My name is Joanna Scribala, and I am the Tourism Development Specialist with the City of Williamsburg. I want to thank everybody for being here today. We're excited to have you here showing interest in public art and the city's Public Art Council. All right, so this is basically what we're going to go over today. We're going to give a high-level overview of what public art is and the definition of public art. I know many of you who are on the line today already have an interest in public art, so I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but we do want to do a little bit of explaining or clarifying. And then we will also go into the Public Art Council and its mission, and then the next steps for the Art Council as well, and answer some questions that were submitted during the registration. So what is public art? In short, art in public spaces. That's what public art is. It can be a sculpture in a park. It could be a mural on the side of a building. It could be an installation inside of a building as seen in the clouds picture here. So the Americans for the Arts has a lot of valuable information on their site, and I wanted to provide this quote here that I thought was very appropriate and succinct. Cities gain value through public art, cultural, social, economic value. Public art is a distinguishing part of our public history and our evolving culture. It reflects and reveals our society, adds meaning to our cities and uniqueness to our communities. Public art humanizes the built environment and invigorates public spaces. It provides an intersection between past, present, and future, between disciplines and between ideas. Public art is freely accessible. From this, I want to focus on those three words of value: the cultural, the social, and the economic value. Public art, in terms of social value, public art is a reflection of its place and time. It activates the imagination and encourages people to pay attention to their environment with a little more thought and creativity. Public art stimulates learning and thought about our art, our community, and our society. And public art is uniquely accessible and allows people to experience public art in their daily life without having to go to a museum or another institution. It engages interaction, both during the process for collecting and installing the art, but then also after the art is installed. From a cultural value perspective, locales with a strong public art presence give communities a stronger sense of place and identity. In addition to the literal visual benefits of public art, it also allows the community and the artists to be involved alongside the planners, the engineers, the designers, the elected officials, other stakeholders who often are involved in planning public spaces and amenities. From an economic value perspective, there is data that shows cities with an active cultural scene are more attractive to citizens, consumers, and businesses. Public art also, in addition to creating civic icons or just an established piece of public art, it can also be used to transform our parks, our bus stops, hospitals, and more into more vibrant expressions of the human imagination. So, in terms of public art and its many functions and formats, 1 second here. Yes, some of public art is purely for aesthetic value, but it can also be used in a variety of different ways. For example, seen here in the lower right picture is a fountain, firefighter with a hose, and it can be used for fountains or water features. As seen in the picture on the left, many locations have actually embraced what they call birdhouse parks. So it's a very creative and unique way to express identity while also serving a very specific function. And then the picture on the top right is interesting because this piece was actually specifically created for selfies. And I'm sure many people have seen the pictures of your friends, or maybe you have of people alongside murals with the wings, the butterfly wings or the angel wings. Well, this is a 3D representation of that. So, all right. So we talked about all the definitions of public art, and we have public art here in Williamsburg. As of right now, the city only allows public art on city property with the exception of William and Mary, but that is changing. City Council has an item on their agenda in October to address this, and I'll get a little bit more into that later. But yes, we have public art on city property. Much of it can be seen in and around the Stryker Center, by the library, near or on Lafayette Street and Richmond Road, near the Williamsburg Contemporary Center for the Arts, which has actually a cluster of public art there, and in Bicentennial Park, which now has 4 sculptures. One of the charges of the Public Art Council is to create an inventory and a plan for public art. This includes taking a look at our current installations in the city as well as what we may have in storage. It also includes a consistency in plaques and descriptions relating to the website and all of that. So with that, this leads me to the curation of the Public Art Council, and I want to give you some history and background on that and where we are with that. An ordinance and resolution were passed in February of this year with the purpose of public art to celebrate the city's past, present, and future with public art. It's to enhance the city's identity and economic vitality by encouraging people to spend more time in the city engaged with public art. It's also to highlight and enhance the beauty and unique character to the city. From this, some of the immediate charges, City Council appoints the Public Art Council, which has been done. And from that, we're to create an inventory of existing public art, develop an art plan and gather public input, and then also develop an application process. And all those 3 items are in progress right now. So who's on the Public Art Council? As you can see, the Public Art Council is comprised of existing city board members plus 2 positions at large. It's a 9-member group. We have 2 members from City Council, the 2 community-wide appointees, a member from the Architectural Review Board, member from the Planning Commission, the Tourism Development Grant Review Committee, the Economic Development Authority, and the Williamsburg Area Arts Commission. So funding for the Art Council. How is this being funded? The goal is 1% of the CIP budget, subject to annual appropriation by City Council. For the first year, we established a one-time allocation of $165,000 of COVID-19 tourism resiliency funds. The Art Council itself is authorized to spend 10% of this fund each year. Anything that goes above that has to go to City Council, but the Art Council can determine what to spend that 10% on per year. And then, of course, public-private partnerships with developers, property owners, businesses that are willing to host or contribute to the city's public art collection as well. And then any unused funds will carry forward into the next year. As mentioned, a part of what the Art Council is doing is data collection and public input, and as what we're doing right now, actually. We're trying to get the word out about what the Art Council is doing, and we want to get your feedback on that, but we want to make sure that the public is educated on what we're doing first. So we want to look at the purpose of public art, desired themes and locations of public art. We want your feedback on that. Following this session in the coming weeks, we will put out an online survey to gather public input, and this will be instrumental in how we proceed to develop a public art plan. So this group we already have your email addresses, so we will make sure you are on that list to get that survey, and of course share it with those you think would be interested as well. So here are the guidelines that were included in the resolution and were formally approved by the Art Council. These are expanded upon and posted on our website, which I have a link for that later in the presentation. As mentioned before, well, I'll get to this in a minute actually, but I'll run through these real quick. So the guidelines and criteria: celebrate the beauty, history, and character and aspirations of the city. Must be appropriate and appealing to a wide, diverse audience, including kids. It's not intended to be commercial signage, but may reflect the commercial uses and character of the area. An example given to this is, we don't want, if you run a sandwich shop, we don't want you to have a big statue of a sandwich right out front. That would be in commercial use. That would commercial usage for that. Yes, but there is a little. Yes, but there are some gray areas within that. But that is the intended purpose is not to be used for commercial use. The art must be accessible to the public, which is in its definition public art. It should not create a hazard to the safety and well-being of public art or of the public. It cannot block pathways or windows or doors. It must be safe, and it must be a permanent installation and does not look cheap. This again is expanded upon in what is posted on the website. We are looking at, when we say permanent installation, that just means it cannot be made of cardboard. It cannot blow away if the wind picked up. It doesn't mean it has to permanently be there from now until the end of time. As mentioned before, there will be some zoning changes coming up before City Council in October. With this, murals will be allowed specifically in Midtown Row. So, kind of throwing a whole bunch of stuff out there at you, but how do we get this going? How do we get this off the ground? We have the Art Council guidelines. We're moving forward with inventory and locations and all of that, but we're also simultaneously working on an application process and plan for getting this off the ground. We have identified 3 avenues for collecting public art. The first to look at here is city solicited public art. This is where we would basically identify locations within the city on city property and put a call for artists. It would be a bid to collect, proposals for art on that property. From here, we're looking at we're going through this process right now. One of our subcommittees on the Art Council is a locations group. They've gone on a field trip, out in the city and identified locations, kind of looked at the terrain, what potential themes and types of art could go on that property. So from that, we're narrowing it down to a few locations and hopefully looking to launch this process in early next year. And then moving on to city-funded sponsored public art and private property. Again, this is private property. This is an application, and right now we actually have a pilot application out there. It is live. It's you can view it if you go to the website. It's there. There's a link for it. This is basically, if your business has an idea for public art, this is the application you would use for that. We're working through the process right now. As mentioned, we have a pilot application out there. We're working with a few groups on this to kind of tweak the application and see what can be bettered from it. Second. However, the initial process we have for this is that you submit your application. Internally, we review it. We talk to the chair of the Public Art Council about this. It would then go to the Art Council as a whole for discussion, and also would need a courtesy review by the ARB, just to make sure they're not there to judge the art. They're there to just make sure it's in line with rules and regulations. And again, if you're requesting funds for this and it is less than the 10% of the annual budget, this is something the Art Council can decide on their own. If it goes above that, it would go to City Council. And donations. Up to the discretion of the Art Council, we can accept donations and determine the location. The city has historically accepted donations from organizations and private citizens, and much of what you see out there in the wild right now are donations, and much of that actually came from Tackle, the Triangle Arts and Cultural League. So this is kind of, I know I threw a lot of information out there right now, but this is kind of the wrap up here. to kind of just reiterate what the Art Council is doing. It's established. It's our meetings, our public meetings. We had our first meeting in July, and they are now the last Monday of every month through January, with the exception of December. So our next meeting is actually coming up here on Monday, the 27th. But from this, we have established subcommittees. As I mentioned, we have one on locations, we have one on inventory, we have one on public input, which is what we're doing right now, and then we have one on the application. We've started the inventory process and the locations process. We're working towards gathering that public input right now. Again, a survey will be pushed out for this information, and then we are continuing to develop that application process. So from that, we have our questions, and we did get several questions from the registration process that I want to go through right now. Let's see here. The first question is, when will the Public Arts Council begin accepting applications to consider? So, as mentioned before, if you have, if you're looking to submit something on private property, we do have an application open right now for that. You can go to the website. On the next slide, I believe there is a link to the website that will have a link to the application. You can look there. So that is live. And again, this is a bit of a soft launch for this application because we are piloting everything right now, but ideas are welcome. We want to see what you have in mind for that. Another question says, interested in seeing how this effort integrates with other city-related programs. As you can see from the makeup of the Art Council, we all work together. We're involving many aspects or groups within the city, and everyone is talking together, which is nice. If there is a specific idea or program that you're thinking about, please feel free to reach out. Barbara?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that this aligns also with some of the GIOs of City Council. One of our objectives is to create an African American heritage trail within the city. And so some of the concepts that are developed through public art, through our WPAC, might help with that. We've also had exposure to trails, historical, nature, different kinds in other cities. And we also want to use public art to help vitalize some of the areas. One of the hopes for having the murals in Midtown Row is to bring people there and create a social gathering place, like you talked about at the beginning of the session.
Thank you, thank you. So from that, you can see we are working together. And again, if you have any ideas or specific programs you want to look into within the city, let us know. The next question is, has the Art Council involved William and Mary? Has involved the William and Mary Arts Department in the project? Perhaps the city could display a few student projects for a year or two to give students exposure and the city residents a chance to see what they're creating. We do have two members on the Art Council who are William and Mary staff members, so we're excited about that. And there has already been a lot of discussion about partnerships with the university, as well as Colonial Williamsburg and other businesses in the area. So we are talking about that. We are in the early stages, but this is great feedback and something that would also be included, or should be included in the public input survey as well. So we have that information there, or ideas. Next,
Joanna, I just wanted to say that just to clarify maybe that it's not just a gallery space, these are more permanent installations, right? Because I thought the question said something about a temporary art piece. Did you want to clarify?
Yes, yeah. Yes, we are looking. Well, I know that, and there's actually a question about this later in here, but there is city precedence with temporary installations, and it's up to the Art Council to determine what that time frame would be. I think that we've looked at, or we've discussed before, you know, the idea that it has to be there for at least a year or something like that, but that is for the Art Council to determine. So there could be something temporary, but it doesn't mean it'll be there for a month. It could be, you know, should be a little bit longer than that. And I should mention the two, Barbara Ramsey and Sarah Blasio, are members of the Art Council, as you saw their names earlier on, our City Council representative, as well as one of our community appointees. And we are happy to have them here to help answer questions. So another question is, what will the process be like for artists to submit public art proposals to the city? I think we covered this, but again, there are several different avenues. If you're an artist and want to work with a business to submit for public art on private property, that is a way to talk to that business to create something or to create a proposal. As the city identifies locations on city property, be on the lookout for that, because that is where we will be putting out bids to collect that, to collect those proposals as well. So there are different avenues. Or if you're an artist that has created something and would like to donate to the city, that is another avenue to get your artwork out there as well. So we do have different ways to collect that art. Let's see. Another question I'd love for the new mural in the new apartment complex to reflect the diversity of our population. They're talking about, are you still taking suggestions, ideas for this? Love to collaborate. There's a solid group of forward-thinking artists here in Williamsburg. Looking forward to the chance of being involved in any of the art in our local community. I can say that Midtown Row has plans for other mural projects, so it's not just specific to the one that is out there right now or has been out there right now. They've already identified walls within their development for this. So if that is something you are interested in, I would highly suggest reaching out to Midtown Row to discuss that. Another question, will there be a map generated of potential locations for public art? Would the commission consider temporary installations? This is the one I was referring to earlier, 6 months to 1 year. Would the commission support a future proposal of the creation of a sculpture park, which might include elements such as pathways, permanent public art, and a small amphitheater? As mentioned before, we are working on that, on identifying those locations. So yes, we are working for that. I don't know, I assume we won't put everything out there at first as a free-for-all. So we'll identify one or two locations at first for that. Again, this is where public input is really important. So you mentioned the creation of a sculpture park. I mean, that is something to include when actually submitting your public input in the survey, or reach out to us directly, because that, I mean, we are certainly willing to have these discussions. So I believe those are the questions we have here.
Joanna, I had suggested just to remind everyone of when we hope to have the survey available and how people will hear about it.
Yes, absolutely. We are looking to put the survey out in October, hopefully within the first couple weeks of October, so here very, very soon. We will send out an alert through the city. It'll be posted on the website. We will be pushing it through social and e-newsletter, so we will definitely be putting it out there. I'm sure there will be a press release as well for that. So hopefully you will hear about it. Again, if you are on this call right now, I have your email address and I will send it to you to make sure you get that information, so we can get your public input on this. Let's see, we do have some comments here in the chat. So 1 second here. I believe we actually answered these.
Yeah. Somebody just had a tech logging in.
Right. I see that. Saw that back and forth. But yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat right now. I know we kind of breezed through this and went pretty fast. This will be recorded, or it is being recorded, and it will be posted. So we'll send that link out as well. If you want a refresher, or if you want to send it to somebody else that you think would be interested, please do. We're happy to answer any questions offline too. If you want to reach out to us, I will go ahead and oops, there we go. There is my contact information, as well as the address for the city page on the Public Art Council.
Will you post this PowerPoint presentation on the website as well?
I can do that. I'm happy to do that. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we appreciate you attending today. Thank you again for that. We are excited about this venture, and it's still in its early stages, but we're excited to get more public art out there and educate the public about public art. So thank you for attending. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. Thank you.